Three companies you have probably never heard of own everything. Everything you buy, everything you use, and everything you depend on to survive. BlackRock, Vanguard, and State Street. Combined, they manage $20 trillion in assets. Let that sink in. 20 trillion. That is larger than the GDP of China, larger than the entire U.S. federal budget for 13 years. They are the largest shareholders in Apple, Microsoft, Amazon, Google, Facebook, Tesla, Exxon, Pfizer, Coca-Cola, McDonald's, JP Morgan, and 90% of all companies in the S&P 500. They don't just own shares. They are the top three shareholders in almost every major corporation in America, which means they control the food you eat, the technology you use, the medicine you take, even the banks you borrow from. But here is where it gets truly insane. These three companies own each other. Look closely. BlackRock's largest shareholder is Vanguard. Vanguard's largest investments include BlackRock. State Street's top shareholders, you guessed it, Vanguard and BlackRock. They own each other in a closed loop, a triangle of power that makes Rockefeller's Standard Oil Trust look primitive. This is monopoly perfected. Not one company controlling one industry, but three companies controlling 90% of all industries simultaneously. And they own competing companies. They own Coke and Pepsi, Boeing and Airbus, Ford and GM, Pfizer and Moderna. There is no competition. There is the illusion of competition. But the same three shareholders control both sides of the chessboard. Every year, Larry Fink, the CEO of BlackRock, writes a letter to CEOs. This letter is not a suggestion, it is a directive. Because if you are a CEO and BlackRock owns 7% of your company and votes on your board, you listen, or you risk losing your job. In 2020, Fink's letter focused on climate change. He wrote, "Climate change has become a defining factor in companies' long-term prospects. Within a year, every major corporation announced net zero commitments, not because of government regulation, but because BlackRock demanded it. This is power beyond government. Governments need to pass laws. BlackRock just writes a letter, and it's not just corporations. They are embedded in the government itself. During the 2008 financial crisis and the 2020 COVID crisis, the Federal Reserve hired BlackRock to manage the bailouts. The Fed uses BlackRock's Aladdin software to assess risk in the banking system. Larry Fink is consulted by presidents, treasury secretaries, and central bankers. They are not just players in the game. They are the referees and the scorekeepers. Let me show you why you cannot escape them. You wake up. Your iPhone is made by Apple. The big three own 22.4%. You check Instagram. Meta is 17.2% owned by them. You drive to work. Your gas comes from Exxon or Chevron. They own 23% of both. You buy groceries. Coke or Pepsi? It doesn't matter. They own 19% of Coke and 20% of Pepsi. You pay with a credit card, Visa or MasterCard. They are the largest shareholders in both. You invest for retirement. Your 401k is likely a Vanguard or BlackRock fund. Every dollar you spend, every transaction you make, flows through companies they control. You are not a consumer in a competitive market. You are a tributary, flowing wealth to the big three. And here is the hardest pill to swallow. You are funding your own exploitation. Your retirement savings are used by them to buy more shares, to control more companies, to extract more wealth from you. So how did we get here? This is exactly what John D. Rockefeller designed, just evolved over 150 years. In 1882, Rockefeller created the Standard Oil Trust, one entity controlling 41 companies. In 1911, the Supreme Court broke it up. They thought they killed the monopoly, but they didn't. Rockefeller's methods spread. Instead of one company owning an industry, we now have three companies owning all industries. But unlike Standard Oil, which was visible and hated, the big three are invisible. They don't own the factories. They own the shares. They don't fix prices directly. They coordinate through corporate governance. They have achieved the perfect monopoly, invisible, legal, and essential. Why doesn't the government break them up? Three reasons. First, antitrust laws were written for companies like Standard Oil, not asset managers. Legally, they don't own the companies. They manage shares for clients. Second, breaking them up would destroy the retirement savings of 100 million Americans. They are too big to fail. Third, they are the government's partner. They finance the debt. They manage the crises. They are too embedded to be removed. By 2030, the big three will manage over $30 trillion. By 2040, potentially $50 trillion. At that point, they won't just be influential shareholders. They will be the controlling owners of the entire global economy. And you will have no choice but to participate.